is crooked?
It's the
Are
glasses.
yours-
It's the glasses. I even gave you the mirrored ones, which are significantly cooler than these, in my opinion.
These are so nice, Kirkwood. Thank you.
You're welcome. You can thank Valleydale Church for them. I think that they cost, they came in a pack of 12.
In all seriousness, though, and we are going to talk about VBS.
We should talk about VBS.
It was super cute to see the kids get up on the stage, say the scripture memory verse
Yeah, it was great.
in front of a lot of people.
Thousands.
Like, it was no joke. We had about 400 plus kids, over 250 volunteers here last week. Not all of them in the worship center necessarily, but it was a lot to stand in front of and do that.
There was a lot in there every day. Welcome to the sermon recap.
Oh, right.
That's Johanna Horseman, our
Hi,
communications
this is
director.
Kirkwood Bullis, worship pastor and tallest man on staff.
That's but no longer
Not
the
the
tallest
tallest
man at
woman.
the church. Not the tall, uncalled for. No longer the tallest man at the church. That belongs to.
Someone stole your title.
There's at least two, and I see them. They always sit, I guess, house left.
Initials. He has initials.
Yeah.
KC? JC?
I
CJ?
think it's an A. I thought it was
AC.
an A. Anyway, he's got to be like 6'9", really cool guy. And then there's I think Zach in sub 30 is like 6'8". So there's people out there.
Are you
We need
okay?
to work on them. Am I okay? I'm doing all right. It's weird.
Have you turned your shirt in?
It is strange.
Valleydale's tallest man.
You're not supposed to know about that. It's weird having having people attract even more attention than me, but it's comforting in a sense. Like, I could actually stand behind this. I could hide behind this person. Yeah. So that's one thing I've been thinking about. Pastor's not here today. He's off to the Southern Baptist Convention.
Woo!
So we're praying for him. These are my praying hands.
Did you give him some sunglasses to take?
Yes, I didn't have a chance. He left. It was such a whirlwind as he left. Does Pastor own sunglasses? When he comes back, I want to talk to him about what his choice in sunglasses is. Before we went live, we were talking about what different sunglasses do people wear. What do you look for when you buy sunglasses? When I was young, I would just whatever is coolest. When I was in high school, the coolest thing were those alien-looking Oakleys. Do you remember those?
I think that was subjective.
That
I do
was the
remember what you're
coolest
talking
thing.
about.
Okay, it's fine. I'm speaking from my subjective opinion. Those were like the coolest ones.
And I'm trying to remember, were you homeschooled? His mom thought they were the coolest glasses ever.
Obviously, now things have changed. It's people's different subjective opinions. I'm no longer homeschooled. Actually, no, I still am homeschooled because I take all my classes online. So I'm still homeschooled, and my kids are homeschooled.
Which is great.
but
I'm not making fun of that at all.
Yes, you are. The point is, I
Even of you,
need
not
sunglasses. That's fair enough. The point is, I need sunglasses that can wrap around the side, so that I can. Actually, this actually works. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do this from now on. I fixed it. In real time, I just fixed it.
Really hope to see that in all your family pictures from your beach trip.
So we gave these sunglasses to all the kids that would come up and say Romans 12:2 in front of the entire congregation, which, like Johanna said, it
was a few people.
Yeah, it was around.
It was loud in there. It was bright
500-ish
up on that stage. It was no small task, and they were so excited to be inducted into the Aviators Club and to get these.
Josh played the Top Gun theme, which was really cool. That Top Gun Maverick movie, golly, have you watched it?
I have. It was good.
Man, it's like hardcore dad cinema, it's just a great dad movie. I watched it and just cried, loved it.
Just from the whole way through.
That's the last movie I've seen, and it was released 2 years ago. So what else do we got to touch? So that was VBS. Now, there's a lot to unpack with regards to VBS. We're not going to unpack the Southern Baptist Convention. So if you're waiting for that, I guess wait until Pastor comes back next week and tells us again how this was the most contentious, controversial SBC of all time, which I believe is something that they say yearly. Isn't that right? I feel like every year we get closer to it, and then it's like, oh, this is the one. And then,
And then everyone survives.
I think that we will survive. I think things will be okay. But Pastor's, I'm sure I'll make him tell us what happened next week.
Okay.
but be in prayer for that, because even though I'm joking around a little bit, it's always a very important meeting.
Yes.
Okay, Miss Joanna, so we're going to talk about the sermon in all eventuality, but there's a few that we got to cover some things with regards to VBS.
So one thing I do want to celebrate, in addition to all of the wonderful kids and volunteers we had here, we had 10 professions of faith, last I heard.
Well, we should celebrate that.
And we usually have some kind of, that develop from VBS over the next several months. So very grateful for that. That's the whole purpose. But what a lot of people may not know, if they were not here and did not keep up with us on our Instagram reels, is that you were served a smoothie every morning of VBS during the worship rally.
Yes, there was a daily bit where I would pretend that I just didn't have enough energy to go on and do the game time. So to get energized for the game time, my assistant, Sadie Siegel, played by Emily McNutt, would come and she'd bring a blender out and basically put whatever she wanted into the blender, and then I would just chug it in front of everybody.
So I was just going to get you to tell us, I want to know, of the 5 smoothies, which one you considered to be the tastiest.
Right.
Which one you considered to have the weirdest texture.
That's
and
easy.
which one you thought was most likely to make you sick.
So,
which one you're going to drink again?
And which one? Yeah, I've actually got them all in the fridge because I only, they made several cups and I would only drink one. Day one's was the tastiest. She brought out the pickle juice and all the kids are like, oh, and I'm like, well, that's, I'm kind of weird. I drink pickle juice at home for its.
To be hydrated?
I would love to say for its medicinal purposes, but I just like the way that it tastes. Like a lot of times I'll just drink it after we eat the last pickle. So I was like, oh, well, this is going to be no problem. So she put that in. I can't remember. She put a couple other things in, but I was like, this is good. So that was the first day. That was the tastiest. But as we know, things escalated quickly. It all went down.
Quickly.
It went downhill from there. Day 2 was by far the worst texture, and the only day where I even considered, like, am I going to gag a little bit? Because they put, first of all, there was no liquid. She just put in hot dogs.
Celery.
She put celery. Actually, that was the best part, was the celery. And is it celery or celery?
It's celery.
Okay,
Is it
celery. Well, they only put one.
prayer?
So she puts in the hot dogs. She puts in the. I knew you were going to do that, so I said it. She puts in the sardines
That I watched drip onto the stage as she pulled it out of the can.
Okay, so I take that back. There was a little bit of liquid. I guess it was the oil on the sardines.
Yeah, no, it wasn't much though.
And so there's 4 hot dogs, this can of sardines, and then she puts in one stick of celery, and then blends it all up, and the celery is still sticking out. And I said, it looks like a Bloody Mary from Sheol, is what I said. I don't think that anyone heard me.
Just a little kid humor.
Just a family humor. And it was thick. I mean, it was like, it was mush. It was not a drink. And so I took 2 big bites of it.
Bites, yes. It was a smoothie you had to chew. And I will just tell you, I was on the floor below the stage getting a reel for Instagram, and I could smell it.
It was awful.
And it was bad. Yeah.
It was bad.
So we'll make that the worst smelling one too, you think?
Yeah. And the other days they were fine. It was just, it was a lot of mixing of the sweet and the savory, one day she had, she ground up all these olives with jelly beans, which that texture-wise was not pleasant, but at least they put in enough liquid where we could just drink it and we were fine. And then the last day,
we had cat food one day.
Yeah, well, I think I don't know if that was real cat food. Or if she put tuna fish in the cat food can. I don't know exactly what she did. But then the last day, that was the big, she put the live worm in there. She cleans the dirt off the live worm and she puts that in there. And I don't know what.
Which will give that one the most likely to make you sick. I actually saw a little fear in your eyes when she was making that.
Well, I talked to her ahead of time. I was like, listen, the taste part of it is not the part that I'm worried about. That's why we're doing this. If I was worried about stuff like making me sick in that way, I never would have volunteered for this. Mm-hmm. But please don't give me a parasite. Yeah. Please don't make me put something in my body. Because if that doesn't kill me, my wife certainly will. Because if I'm out of commission not helping her take care of the kids, it's going to be a rough situation. Anyway, that was the Breaker Rock brunch, and I feel great, feeling good. Everything's regular, so no worries.
All right, well, I guess now's the time to tell you that we were going to make you a smoothie this
All
week.
right, let's bring it out. Let's bring it out. I'm sure that you could
Just
think of
kidding.
something more diabolical. I'm sure you could come up with something.
I'm sure I could too.
The worst thing I think that I talked about this on here before. So that we obviously, when you go to a different culture, there's always different strange things that you wouldn't have dreamed of eating before. I lived in China for a few years. And the weirdest, I'll skip all the stories in between, but the weirdest thing that I think I ever had was like they had grilled these cocoons, like pupae of caterpillars, like that are halfway transitioned into butterflies, halfway in the metamorphosis. And it was a horrible combination of like the worst texture and the worst taste.
Did it also kind of like hurt your feelings a little bit?
To
Like that
eat a
kind of makes me
butterfly?
sad. The worms and the caterpillars in there, and it's like, yes, I'm
I'm
going to turn to the
almost
most
there.
beautiful being ever in the world, and they just like cut them down.
I guess that's the trifecta. I hadn't even considered it from that perspective. Then there was the other time where a guy like tried to give me a beer, and of course I wasn't going to drink the beer. As a Baptist missionary, that would be unwise. And so I politely refused, and he said, oh, okay, my fault. And so he goes and heats it up and then gives it back to me and says, here you go now. So then he gave me this boiling hot beer. I said, I'm sorry.
Because he
I
thought,
just
like,
can't.
as an American, that you needed it.
This
warm
was
or
in the
something?
This was in the hills of Tibet. I have no idea what he was thinking. And then he heats it up, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't. And so he's like, okay, I got it. And then he goes, grabs an egg from one of the live chickens in the corner, cracks the egg, and like the boiling beer cooks this egg in front of me. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. I think I might have still eaten the egg, but
Very interesting.
so that was weird, but it didn't taste as bad as the caterpillars. I can't believe how long you've let me talk about this.
I just have to let you go.
Yeah,
I
that's
try not
just
to get in your
long,
way.
a really long leash. Do we have anything else that we need to cover before we start getting into some of the sermon illustrations?
So I'll let you. Yeah, we have our question of the week that we've actually had to put off a couple of
right,
weeks
that's true.
from Sam, one of our recent high school graduates.
Oh, we're not gonna. I guess we can't play it. It was a really simple question.
We
though.
can insert it in the.
Okay, so right here you're gonna hear Sam Montgomery talk about his question of the week.
We'll just sit quietly.
One question I would ask God. Why 7? What's with the 7 in the Bible? The amount of 7s.
Right. So I told you when I found out I was going to be on the recap with you, all yours.
All me.
Why sevens?
Such a simple question. I thank you, Sam, for this question, and this one I hope is a significantly easier response than what we had before. Like God, before we had, I can't remember who it was. It Ellie that was asking about loneliness? That was a tough one. You guys can go back and get Pastor's response to this. So the first thing I'd say with regards to 7 is. You might even call it like a sort of ontological or philosophical approach. Is I would ask Sam, like, how do you even know what 7 is? That's a weird question, right? How can you even count to 7? How do you even know that 7 is a number? How do you even know what a number is? And the reason I ask all those questions is because before the foundations of the earth were laid, God understood and was laying the groundwork for all of these things making sense to our minds. It was God that even created the idea of numbers in the first place. So the first thing I would say is, why not 7? Because God's completely in control. It wasn't as if God saw numbers out there and identified them and say, I'm going to take advantage of those. No, God created the idea of numbers in the first place. Now, if you want to talk about, so I think that's really cool. That makes me, that makes my heart worship as I think about how God is so far beyond all of our understanding. But the second thing that I'd say, and it's probably what Sam was more talking about, is that in the Bible there is, and it is in the New Testament and maybe even more so in the Old Testament, Or maybe it's equal. I'm not sure. I had a sheet with notes that I left back in my office. But the number 7 is all over the Bible. So traditionally, people have understood it as it goes back to the very beginning. You have God that creates the world. He creates it over the course of a 7-day week. So the idea of a week having 7 days is not even man's idea. It wasn't like created when they made the Gregorian calendar or even before then. It was laid with the foundation of the earth itself. There was a 7-day week before man even existed. God rests on the 7th day. So God decides 7 is important. He decides there's 7 days in a week. Then God rests on the 7th day. And so that day is reserved for him. And we call that day Saturday. That is the last day of the week. Sunday is actually the first day of the week, not Monday. On Saturday, the final day of the week, that was a Sabbath unto the Lord. It was a day to be kept holy. That's why the Hebrews would do no work on that day. Along with the number 7, you get the number 6. 6 is oftentimes called, it's man's number, right? It's the day where mankind was created on day 6. And then if you know anything about biblical numerology, you know that most of the time 6 is not a good number, right? You know, you see that it's associated with all kinds of negative eschatological implications in the book of Revelation. A lot of times you'll see 666 is like the mark of the devil. That people dispute about that, but the idea that 6 is not as good as 7, everyone agrees on that because God is perfect and man is not. I think one thing I would say before I end this monologue is that we got to be careful with digging too deep. I'm going to put that in quotes, scare quotes, too deep with biblical numerology, because there's all kinds of important numbers that are on their face. They're obviously important. God made it rain during the flood in the days of Noah for 40 days and 40 nights. You have Moses on Mount Sinai, miraculous fast with God 40 days and 40 nights. Jesus does the same thing when he goes in the wilderness in Luke chapter 4. So the number 40 is obviously significant, but it does not. This is where it gets tough to describe. It does not mean that you should look for every chapter in the Bible that has 40 words, or every time you see 40 letters in a row, or in your life in particular. It does not necessarily mean that 40 is always of the utmost significance. I've seen people make themselves crazy. It also leads to a lot of unfortunate heresy, frankly, because people start to assign significance to things that God didn't design to be significant. So we have to be careful with that. But I hope that's a helpful response, Sam, for the number 7. And thanks for asking that question. I'm looking forward to more questions in the future.
Me too. I'm excited about this new little series we're doing. Do we have one lined up already?
We can.
Okay, Jared's going to line up another question.
Jared's going to submit a question.
Jared's got the most questions, actually. He just feeds them to the students.
So,
and has
like,
them
total
ask.
side note, not that anybody else will know what I'm talking about. You texted us a picture of you with a man that I'm sure I was supposed to know who he was.
You didn't know who that was?
No.
You were hanging out with Jameis Winston, the GOAT, baby.
It's the best NFL player of all time.
Best NFL.
In my eyes.
Is he?
I still don't know who he
I
is.
take him over Russell Wilson. He
is definitely underrated.
He's not a good quarterback, but he is like the best personality in the NFL.
Okay.
He's funny.
He is
very,
wild. Is he still playing?
Yeah, he plays for the Browns now.
Jameis Winston.
He traded the Browns last year.
You sent it, and I knew it was somebody I was supposed to be excited about, but I didn't want to be the loser. It was like, guys, I don't know who this is.
He has like the funniest pregame speeches and like post.
He's wild, man.
Interviews.
Okay.
You have to look him up.
I'm pretty sure
Okay.
he was the first NFL quarterback of all time to have 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions.
Yeah. He
in
led
the
the league.
same
He was the
season.
first quarterback to ever lead the league in touchdowns and interceptions.
Completely zeroed himself out.
Yeah, but he won the national championship and the Heisman Trophy.
Okay.
Yeah.
At Florida State.
Yeah, with Florida State.
And
Yeah,
he was the #1 draft pick, but just didn't
I remember.
really live up to it.
I remember
Great
watching
guy.
that game because they beat Auburn. That was a tough one.
That's rare that Auburn loses a football game.
No, what's rare is when Auburn is playing for the national championship at all. That's the rare part.
Look, those were not shots fired. My kid goes to Auburn.
They were shots
I don't
fired.
have a dog in the fight. I
Auburn
just don't want to
fans-
get the whole
Auburn
like.
fans have to have some level of self-deprecation, right? It's a great culture, albeit not necessarily a winning one. And I say that as someone who's been grafted into the Auburn
Their
family.
colors are superior,
It is a good color scheme.
in my opinion.
It is a
Yes.
good color
Okay, we
scheme.
can all agree on that. Speaking of colors
Very
of
unique mascot as
clothing
well.
on
Yes.
jerseys.
Oh, I see what you did there. Excellent Sieg.
This is why Kirk asked me to fill in because my
I know
segues
it's
are
pronounced segue. Sometimes I say Sieg. That's the way it looks when you...
segue. Is that what it is?
Celery, I think is how it's
Celery,
pronounced.
pray your segue. Okay, so actually, I may not need these.
Caps lock is on. Let me get that.
I think that my eyes are feeling youngish today.
Are you sure you don't want your
Unlike
aviator?
yesterday morning. Yes.
Okay, so this is for the fashion portion. I'm going to put my Tom Cruise aviator.
It's for the fashion portion because Pastor Mac, which it did amuse me a little bit when I first saw his sermon notes. I was like, oh, he's starting off by talking about fashion. That's so interesting.
He looked great yesterday too.
He always
He
looks
was
great.
matchy for sure.
Yeah. But he was talking about one of the most expensive dresses in the world, which was Princess Diana's
Right. That's- yeah.
wedding dress. It was $500,000. No, the hand-sewn pearl. No, yeah, $500,000 in today's money. So, but that's nothing compared to what I found.
Okay, I'll take
So-
my glasses off to widen my eyes.
Yes, I expect some significant reactions. So, because you gifted me
Yeah.
with these fabulous sunglasses.
Did you find the most
And
expensive
I'm one to talk.
sunglasses?
So, the quick disclaimer: I do not live in this world of most expensive clothing items. I am wearing a $49 dress from Amazon, and that is like
Looks great.
I'm okay with that. So, if you are a bougie fashionista and want to contradict any of my findings, I'm okay with that.
And also,
because
may
it's
we recommend the story of the rich young ruler. Okay, go.
yes. May you also be convicted as we enjoy this segment. Because it is, I did have to sift through the most expensive clothing items auctioned, like Kurt Cobain's jeans, were really expensive.
Right.
Marilyn Monroe's dress was
Yeah, these
auctioned
things
for a lot
with
of money.
sentimental
That's not what I was
significance,
looking
right,
for.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
looking for stuff on the market right now, most expensive. So, sunglasses. You have to guess how much those sunglasses
Okay,
cost.
well,
The
so
most
there's
expensive
still
sunglasses.
there's still two categories here because there's like the most expensive, maybe like functional sunglasses, like that they're priced high because they're excellent craftsmanship, excellent warranty, all these things, right? And I'm guessing those. I'm gonna guess that those are like $400 or $500. But then there's a different category, and I'm just spitballing here. There's got to be the sunglasses that for no reason are just diamond encrusted, and they have jewels all over them.
Okay, so
and
I
they're
will just go
only
ahead and
for the
tell you
hyper-rich.
that I think everything, yes, I'm looking to confirm every item on here that I researched has diamonds involved.
Okay, so it's for the
that's,
hyper
that's
for the
that's
hyper-rich.
the, but these are all things that you could go online and buy. They're not just like one-offs made for a fashion show or something.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say that these sunglasses, then, if I could go online and just buy them and I don't have to, like, call an agent or something like that, I'm going to say that they're $5,000.
Okay. Do you guys have any guesses off camera?
12,000.
12,000 from Jared.
Most expensive sunglasses.
75,000.
What's
Oh, yeah.
expensive in the world? I'm going 125,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Price is Right rules. You win. You're the closest without going over.
Thank you.
They are $45,276. The
45,000.
Yes.
So Pike wins.
no,
I went over.
without going over.
Oh, okay.
They are the Bentley Platinum sunglasses, and they're a true status symbol.
Made by Bentley.
They
I
have
would
intricate design, and they have 253 diamonds.
Yeah, that's the diamond thing is so dumb
What's
to
the
me.
warranty on those? You
The
get,
diamond,
I'm-
like why? What do you know what they? Oh, I can't tell what they look like. I don't have my glasses.
I
can't
did-
read
no,
that
I did
anyway.
pull up what
All
they
right,
look
let's
like.
let's go. If we have more of these, we need to
There,
go through
look.
quick because we.
They're actually good-looking sunglasses. They're not like gaudy.
Okay, so that's the thing. You could find sunglasses that look like that for $15 on Amazon, like Jared did.
yes.
Yes.
But I'm not hyper rich. I don't know what that must be like to just I've got so much money laying around. I got to use it on something. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll get a
If
tax
they don't
break
sell it
if
on
I
Amazon,
buy
I
these
don't buy it.
sunglasses.
That's just what it comes down to me. All right, most expensive dress
Sounded good.
in the world right now.
Yeah, it's got to be significantly more than the 500,000 because they do all kinds of crazy stuff with fashion in like Dubai, Saudi Arabia, India. I'm kind of thinking a Bollywood flair here. 1.1 million.
Guys?
1.12 billion.
2 million.
1.12 and 2 million are the other two guesses. Again, if we're Price is Right rules, Pike is the closest without going over. It is an astounding, using their word, $30 million.
30 million. So okay, so that's not something you can just go online and buy.
I guess that is a one-off, yeah.
30 million. All right.
Okay, so, and it is because it's made of crimson silk and taffeta and has over 750 real diamonds sewn into it.
Yeah, roll
It's
Tide.
called, it has a name. It's called the Nightingale of Kuala Lumpur, designed by Faisal Abdullah. So,
Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia.
of Malaysia.
I was about to say that.
Jared was about to say
I am
that.
geographically challenged.
What, did we have
Don't-
something more normal? Like, what's the most expensive?
Look,
I don't know.
don't ever ask me a geography question on this show again. Okay? All right. Most
That was one of the most serious. Okay, that's something.
Kuala Lumpur literally could be in Texas, Ron. That's how bad
You
it
know,
is.
that's the thing. That probably it's like how there's like a London, Kentucky.
Yeah, you're talking about Kuala
you know?
Lumpur, Texas, or Malaysia. Our most expensive shoe, we'll get through it quick,
Most sense to you.
in the world right now.
Okay, let's just say 500,000.
500,000,
3 million.
3 million,
He's disqualified. What is it?
1 billion. Jared wins this
$1
one.
billion.
Closest without going over, $20 million price tag.
That's ridiculous. Oh,
These are
this is
interesting,
just
though.
dumb. These are imaginary numbers.
They're called Moonstar shoes. They were designed by Antonio Vietri, and they feature a platform sandal silhouette with shimmering, shiny uppers crafted from materials including solid gold, diamonds, and even meteorite.
Wow, that's really something. Yeah.
They're literally out of this world.
Now that's actually a scarce stone because we all know this, how the diamond industry, like there's plenty of diamonds, but they control the scarcity of the diamond. That's kind of dumb to me. But like a meteorite, there's not
That's
a lot
harder
of
to come
those.
by.
Use every few years.
There's
So
a- yeah.
it's like, oh, we're out of stock. We
Can
gotta
you
wait for the
imagine
next-
that? Like all the
next meteor showers coming in
The
tonight.
next meteor shower and the shoemakers, the cobblers are all running. We got to get these materials.
NASA
We
for
all-
some inside
Somebody
knowledge.
wants a size 11. We have to. Okay.
All right, most expensive jeans in the world right now.
I'm guessing that these are all women's clothes. Can we just say, because
Sunglasses, I feel like could go either way. The
that's
shoes are
true.
women's. The dress, obviously. Jeans, yes, I believe they're women's. The
10
last category is men's. So
10
just hold
million.
on.
10 million. Okay.
10 million for most
So Pastor
expensive
says we're a
jeans.
jeans and a t-shirt. So I assume that the next one's going to be the t-shirt.
10 million,
I'm going 3 million from Buckle.
3 million,
500,000.
100,000. Most expensive jeans in the world are by Secret Circus. They're 1.3 million. They have diamonds on them. We'll just leave it at that. And they're, by the way, this is subjective.
Okay.
They're ugly.
Okay. Thank you.
Most expensive men's t-shirt.
So all right. Now we're talking.
So this is a t-shirt. We're talking a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I can tell you that the shape of the t-shirt is that of a t-shirt. Like
It
it,
just
doesn't
looks
have
normal.
yes.
I'm going.
How many diamonds does it have on it? That was a joke.
No, it does. I told you it all involves diamonds. It's
So dumb.
it's over 9 carats worth of black and white diamonds.
Let's go 400,000.
9 carats.
Hold the phone.
Did
you
he
have
get
one
it
of
exactly
these?
I
right?
do have one. Yeah, I bought it from Yeezy.
Jared Wiltz wins. It is exactly the price. You move on to the
Well, he had to buy an engagement ring recently. He knows the
to the Price
per
is Right
carat.
showcase. $400,000. It is 100% organic. It's called Superlative Luxury, the most expensive shirt in the world.
As if you care whether it's organic or not when you're spending. I wasn't going to spend this 400,000.
It was
but
also
since it's organic,
All
Look,
natural.
so
look.
dumb.
It was also manufactured using a production process that cut noxious emissions by 90%.
I'll tell you what's noxious is making a shirt that costs $400,000.
I'm just saying, they may have like cut down emissions, but there's no way in the world like the manufacturing of the diamonds and
Every time I
all
log
the
in,
things
every
is
time I
not.
log into any social media, they show me the advertisements for those True Classic T-shirts. They're desperate to sell me one of those, and I think that they're like $20 or $30 per shirt. I'm like, no can do. I'm sorry, can't do it.
What's your limit on a T-shirt that you wear
I
in
haven't.
public?
I don't. Most of the time, because I work at such a fabulous organization, most of my T-shirts are free. You know, when a shirt wears out, I just go get another one of those 1B hand
Just,
shirts
yeah,
and just
go
enjoy.
from department to department.
And
asking
I
if they
did
have
that. I did
extra
that
large.
last year.
long
The
shirt.
biggest problem that I have, even though I'm not the tallest man at the church anymore, is getting one that's fits the frame, you know, and isn't just super bulky. But maybe I should get one of those. You were saying you need a Yeezy shirt. Maybe I need to get one of those like super long ones, but it'll be a normal length for me. I don't know. But so why were we talking about fashion? It was because that was Pastor's opening and closing illustration, talking about putting off the old self and putting on the
And
new self.
all of that feeds what he said. It says you cannot help but wonder if all this fashion emphasis comes from a heart that longs to change into something else. Why do people want these things? Why do they try so hard? Why do we? I'll put me in that category. I try to look, cute sometimes. Why do we do that?
Clothing is such an interesting thing, right? Because we were just talking about, we talked with the kids at VBS about the sin of Adam and Eve. Clothing wasn't even a thing before sin came into the world. And then as soon as sin comes in the world, they have shame. They want to cover their bodies. And then the interesting thing is, God sacrifices animals to cover them. Like if you ever think about that, he kills animals. That's, I think, is that the first sacrifice? It's the first animal sacrifice, and they're covered with these animal skins to hide their shame. So clothing in itself is like this fruit of a fallen world, and yet like we're able to express so much creativity and glory in how we make clothes and how we dress ourselves and organize. So I think that's kind of interesting that God even allows us that bit of grace, even with this thing that wasn't even a part of the original
His original
creation.
design, yeah.
So yeah, we do, and we long. Yeah, sorry, getting back to your point. Yeah, we long for that change, that metamorphosis. Like we understand that there's that. Like all human beings, that goes back, and we quoted a lot, that Romans chapter 1, that we all have this innate understanding, not just of the image of God, but that something has gone wrong.
Right.
And so maybe some of that's being expressed in our desire to change the way we look, or to be like, well, these clothes are old and busted. I want something new, or I want to change my hairstyle, or I want to change like how I do my makeup. Things like that.
You change the way you do your makeup a lot.
Haven't changed it in years. Still the same process
Well,
of nothing.
And I did think, and I think we all know this, but I wonder how much we think about it and really think about the impact it has on us, whether we feel like we're allowing it to or not. And that is when you, like the before and afters in marketing, it's always the emphasis on the outer, right? So the woman who is ready to like turn her life around goes and buys the new dress and gets the haircut and all these things. And then she has become this new, stronger, better version of herself, when obviously the passage and most of God's word tells us to focus on the inner and seeing the transformation there.
That is one way that the world keeps tempting us. We think, well, if we solve this problem in our outer selves, that's going to work its way in.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think, obviously we're supposed to be good stewards.
Yes.
We see that in like the Bible counsels us in how we eat, in how we drink. We're even like there's ritual washings, like you're supposed to keep yourself clean. There's an understanding in the Bible that sort of thing is important. But yeah, you can't expect by just like if you whiten your teeth or if you get a new hair product, that's going to improve your spiritual life. You see, the world will try to convince you
Yeah.
that that's
And that's so
what will happen.
easy. Like developing the inner man and becoming more like Christ is a lifelong process. You have setbacks. Getting the haircut is, as long as you go to the right person, is usually pretty rewarding and takes, I don't know, men's haircuts are like 30 minutes? I don't know.
Mine takes a very
It's
long
that
time.
immediate,
indeed.
it's that immediate gratification.
A couple of notes, even though I think that's a really interesting conversation, we might actually have to continue that next week with Pastor because he says he says he's going to dig into, I couldn't remember which verse he said, maybe it's the whole passage again. One thing that I thought was interesting, verse 20, Paul says, you did not learn Christ in this way. There's a word that seems to be absent there. You did not learn about Christ in this way. There's this implied almost more intimate understanding of how we know Christ as a person. At the end, he talked about how as a church body, we're the bride of Christ. If you're in a marital relationship, there's this expectation you're supposed to learn your spouse. Not just learn, I'm not supposed to learn about my wife, Lauren. I'm supposed to learn her, like what makes her tick, like how can I love her better, how can I serve her better. And I can kind of see shades of that in how Paul is expressing what a relationship with Christ is supposed to be. This chapter, Ephesians 4, and Joe, you probably saw this as well. This part of Ephesians chapter 4 is almost a direct parallel to Colossians chapter 3. Paul wrote these letters at a similar time. These are his prison epistles. He did these while he was imprisoned. He was writing these letters to different churches, obviously churches at Ephesus and Colossae. And there were definitely some specific points that he needed to hit with each church, but obviously there's some things that there needed to be some overlap. So that's your homework if you're here with us with the podcast. Read Ephesians 4 and then read Colossians 3 back to back, and you'll see all kinds of parallels. I don't think here he directly says put on Christ. He says put on the new self, which in the likeness of God has been created in righteousness. In Colossians 3, I believe he says specifically you're supposed to put on Christ. So I would say those things have a very similar meaning. Joe, did you have any other notes you wanted us to hit?
Well, just based on what you just said about the learning about someone and learning someone, his illustration there was funny, but also really helpful, where he says, put these chemicals together, and he knew what each of these chemicals was, but he didn't know what would happen when we put them all together. I thought it's a good way to look at it. You know what these little things are, but what is it as a whole, and the understanding of that.
One thing that I admit I think about this particular principle a lot, and so I wasn't surprised when he brought it up, but I was disappointed that he's not really going to talk about it until next week. And that is, you can't stop at just putting off the old self. Something new must be put on.
I have that circle. The renewal was not of the old self. It is a creation of the new self.
So there's so many aspects there. We're not going to cover them today. We're going to leave that for next week. But one of them is the idea of trying to put on a new self when you haven't put off the old. Mm-hmm. That doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about your new wine and old wineskins, that's one of the analogies that Christ uses. But then the other one, and it bears repeating, you try to put off the old self, and almost like you're trying to remain neutral without like going and striving for Christ-likeness. Mm-hmm. Well, Christ even has a parable about that as well, or some symbolism. He talks about like how an evil spirit is cast out, but then it can easily find its way back in and bring 7 more with it. I'm sorry I don't have the reference for that. But Christ covers these things, and remember, all of Paul's words are just echoing what he's learned from Christ through the Spirit. So that's probably where we're going to pick it up in this coming week when Pastor's back. And he's here next Monday, right? I think
I
he
certainly
is.
hope so.
If
As
not,
far as I know, he
if
is.
not, we're going to continue our burgeoning fashion podcast,
Yeah.
which has gone great. I know now that I need to get onto Amazon. I got these glasses on Amazon, so I'm going to complete my Amazon look next week. I mean, normally I'm more of a Gap guy, but we're going to go with Amazon. And so we'll talk more about that in the week to come.
Yeah, sounds good.
Anything else that you wanted to hit us with before
No.
we close?
It was fun being here with you today.
Thank you, Miss Joanna, for making our
Welcome,
outline
Captain
of
Kirk.
things. Yes, at ease, Lieutenant. And we're going to head off to another meeting in just a little bit. We'll see you next week here at the sermon recap. Signing off. Say goodbye, Joanna.
Goodbye, Joanna.